Hey, hey, it's another day at the Fending Theater Experience. I'm Blake.
And I'm Sydney.
Let's get started.
Today's performance target is we will learn what a lighting designer is and what they do.
We're gonna have Harrison back with us today to talk to us just what it takes to be an awesome lighting designer.
A lighting designer is in charge of all of the lighting for a show. Without a lighting designer, you wouldn't be able to see any of the actors or even the set. So at the very beginning, just like the scenic designer, the lighting designer is going to do all of their research. This process looks very similar to the scenic designer, but instead of looking at what architecture looks like, they're going to look more towards colors, lights, and how shadows play off of architecture. After doing the research, the lighting designer is going to start thinking about what types of lighting they want for the show. So there's a few different types of lighting, and we're going to go through what they are. Front light is the most used type of lighting. Now this light helps the audience see the facial reactions and all of the movements that an actor does. And that's why it's used the most, because without it, you wouldn't be able to see the little details the actor does to enhance their performance. Side light is the next type of lighting we're going to talk about. Now this is a light that's focused on the side to hit the side of their performer, and it's normally way off stage on a boom, or basically a giant pole that's going to hold a lot of lights. Now this is most commonly used for dance, and this is because it doesn't really accent the person's face, which is not needed for dance. The more important thing is the shape of their body when they're moving. And another thing that side lights often used for is it actually makes you look like you can jump higher because of the way the shadow is cast on the ground. Backlight is used very frequently in a theatrical production, but also in film. Now, this is a light that's positioned behind whatever the main focus is, and it's used to create depth. So in film, the biggest reason they use it is to try to make it not seem like a 2D space, even though you're watching it on a 2D screen. In theater, a lot of the times what it's used for is to give the performer an accent color. So right around the edges of their body, you'll get to see an added color. Top light is the last major type of lighting that a lighting designer is going to consider. Now this light is used to just fill the area of the stage, so that if someone's on stage but they're not the focus, you can still see what they're doing, but your eye isn't drawn to them. Now that we've talked about different types of lighting, we're going to move on to making a lighting plot. Now this is very similar to what the scenic designer does by creating a ground plan, which is just their drawing. But this paperwork is going to show exactly where every single light goes on the stage, and it's basically the blueprints for all the lights. When creating a plot, a big choice that the designer has to make is what color gels they're going to use for each light. Now there are some lights that you can make any color, but most theaters don't have all of their lights this way. So they have to pick one color to stay that way for the entire show, and they do this with a gel. Now the color that a designer uses can really change the feeling of the show. If it's supposed to be a night scene, they'll probably use mainly blues. Or if somebody's sick, they're probably going to use a lot of greens. The hardest thing to do when picking the gels is make sure you don't change the color too much. So we're going to go through how gels can actually change the color of other things.
So a gel is basically a colored piece of film that you stick in front of a light to change the color. So if you look here on the wall, we've got a red A and kind of a tan background. And if I stick a red gel in front of my flashlight, there's not a whole lot of change to the color in the A, but there is a big difference in the color on the wall. So the yellow turns a lot more red. Now, if we were to stick a green in front of it, you can see a much bigger change on the wall and just a little bit of a difference on the A. See how it gets just a little bit darker? Now, what we have to be careful when we're picking gels is that we don't change the color too much. So if I stick this blue on the red, then see how it kind of gets duller and it's hard to tell that that's a red?
After all of the gels are picked and the plot is finished, the lighting designer is going to send it over to the master electrician. Now, the master electrician is the person that is in charge of hanging every single light and making sure that it works. So when the lighting designer arrives, they don't have to deal with fixing all of their lights. After everything's been hung, we're gonna go into what's Tech Week. So the designer is gonna show up for Tech Week, and the very first thing they have to do is focus every single light. Now in this process, the designer is gonna go one by one with a team of electricians to point and make sure every light only touches what it's supposed to on the stage. Then they're gonna be able to start writing cues. Now that they're writing cues, the lighting designer is going to go through and set every single light and how bright it's supposed to be on the stage and program them into a light board. Now, one of the things that they have to do while they're creating lighting cues is work very closely with the stage manager, because the stage manager is going to call every single cue throughout the show. So the stage manager needs to be absolutely positive where every single light cue happens, so that even when the lighting designer's not there, it happens the right way. After all of the cues are programmed and the stage manager knows when to call them, the only thing left to do as a lighting designer is sit back and get ready for the show to open.
Thanks, Harrison. Make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe to our channel.
Thanks for learning and creating with us.
Bye.